Yo, what up, YouTube? Is this your boy, the Visionary? Welcome to another episode of Firesidechats. This is the fourth video in a four-part video series I've titled Perceptual Reality Paradigms. To start off, just to do a summary, what is a perceptual reality paradigm? A perceptual reality paradigm is a systematic cognitive constructional interpretation which dictates how a person perceives reality, how they interact with people, and how they interact with their surrounding environment. It acts as a mental interface between one organic system to other organic systems or to inorganic systems. In general, there are three parts to the perceptual paradigm, and they're called metagrams. Now, the first one is called the bioglyph. Now, the bioglyph is basically the inborn genetic desires, instincts, reflexes that the individual or organism comes with, which necessitates its survival. Then you have the social glyph, which is the externally created set of directives by which the organism or person is indoctrinated with, which influences his actions in regard to a certain particular situation or event. Then you have the metaglyph, which is another externally created set of directives, which are generally derived from theological interpretations of reality or why things are the way they are, which also influences the person's actions or what they do or should not do. Now, when you try to look at how each one of the metagrams influences each other, starting with the bioglyph, it's basically the primary default metagram. So you're just born with that, and you have those instincts, you have those desires, you have those reflexes to help you necessitate your survival. But the bioglyph is also sometimes regulated by the social glyph. Now, the social glyph, again, which is an external set of directives that influence your actions, are imprinted onto the bioglyph, which is meant to regulate the bioglyph. Now, for example, let's say a person just runs up to you and hits you in the face. Now, the bioglyph will react, and the directives will be put into play where you will automatically react and attempt to attack the person or the force that's attacking you. The social glyph attempts to control the reaction of the bioglyph so that a certain outcome will come about, which will help to necessitate your survival, because you could overstep your reaction to a physical stimulus, such as someone attacking you, and overexert yourself or go beyond the needed amount of force that you would need to repel the attack in general. The social glyph is also affected by the metaglyph. Like I said, the metaglyph is an external set of created directives which come from a theological interpretation or whatever it is, imprints itself onto the social glyph, which also attempts to print itself onto the metaglyph, the bioglyph. Forgive me. Now, how this all works together in general, a better example of this would be if you step back and take the actual perceptual reality paradigm in regard to how we interact with each other. When one person from a group does not fit that group, it's because his perceptual reality paradigm is different due to certain factors within each of the metagrams. The social glyph in general was not indoctrinated. The person was not indoctrinated with the social glyph that he or she was supposed to be indoctrinated with, depending on what culture, where on the earth that person comes from. So when that social glyph has not been downloaded correctly, that's what forces or causes the problem or the conflict between the person who does not have the properly downloaded social glyph into them versus the others of the group who have the proper social glyph or downloaded into them already. For instance, if you have a kid that comes from a certain culture where in that culture it's cool for the guys to wear dresses, for example, and one kid goes, you know what, I don't like wearing dresses, or for some reason the value that is placed on wearing a dress that all the other boys find like, oh, that's cool, this is the reason why I like doing it. If he doesn't accept that value placed upon him, he did not necessarily assimilate the social glyph that was placed upon him, the programming in general. Therefore, that creates a strife and conflict and change. This also falls into other areas of life, whether it be dating or social, cultural situations between, about civil rights and so on and so forth, where you're dealing with, how can I put it? You're dealing with I would say racism in general, one group attempts to try to assimilate into the more powerful group, but there are certain situations where, in particular African American culture, we built our culture from, you know, the early 1950s and a little onward. Actually, before that, where we tried to assert black power and black nationalism. What happened is that we basically became the reciprocal. We became the antithesis of what the status quo was. In doing so, we forever excluded ourselves out from the stronger culture or the more dominant culture, and that's where all the resources is, that's where all the power is, and so on and so forth. This also explains, again, like I said, dating, friendships, relationships. In general, if, like I said, if one person who comes from a specific culture does not fit that culture in regards to having the proper social glyph. For instance, you might have seen lots of minority kids, in particular maybe black or Spanish, who have this fascination with Japanimation or Japanese culture, and to an extent they OD attempt to try to assimilate or filter into the culture. It's because they did not download the proper social glyph that they were born into, particularly African American culture or Spanish culture, and they try to assimilate into another culture that they might assume to be better, whatever it is. In general, what happens sometimes is when you have a group of people, and then there's those of them who attempt to try to break free from the group for whatever reason. Sometimes it's an objective survival reason. It's a survival reason based on objectivism. You know what I'm saying? Like understanding that your culture is corrupt, and that's one of my basic theories or one of my basic hypotheses about African American culture. It's because it's corrupt, it's twisted, it's inimical to our survival, and we need to break free from it in order to, survive, either as individuals or as a nation or as a group. Even though by doing so we might lose our identity or who we are, I guess you can say. But the thing is, being loyal to something that is going to destroy you is illogical and stupid in general. And this particular theory explains that partially to an extent. It explains why certain groups of people are able to succeed because of their social glyph. What they were downloaded with helps in their survival, and it has a certain set of instructions on what to do, how to do it, when to do it, so on and so forth, in terms of language, what food you eat, what clothing you wear. And when you have elements within a particular culture who do not assimilate the social glyph correctly, they become outcasts. They become cast out. And what happens is that, in general, they have the opportunity to assimilate or try to cling on to another culture, possibly a culture that's more powerful, that's more beneficial to who they are in regards to their survival, and so on and so forth. Well, that's it for the 4-part video series, Perceptual Reality Paradigms. What I want to do is I want to encapsulate this into like a book or something. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I have all my fireside chats I actually save and I type it up. Like I'm reading what I typed up here. It's usually like a page long, or whichever episode it is, it's a page long explaining my theories and my ideas and my concepts on certain things that I think are important. And in general, being black and being I would say a distant associate of African American culture, because I've had really bad I would say experiences dealing with black people in general in regards to verifying my blackness. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like, I guess you can say I'm finding it, but I'm not. I'm breaking free from it, and I want to try to break free from the culture, bring some knowledge back into it, and try to, I guess, enlighten some people. It might sound arrogant, but I don't know what other way to say it, because we as a people are suffering from a lack of intellectuals. Not just intellectuals, philosophers, politicians, social critics, people that are, those of us who know what's going on, who can disseminate the information that they get from the outside world and bring it back in. And that's what's killing us, is because we're not culturally affluent, we're not politically affluent, we're not economically affluent in what's going on in the world, and that's what's going to get us in the end, period. So, hey, I hope you enjoyed the video. I think that's it. I'm going to have more videos up. I have 2 ready to go, so stay tuned. Peace.